Kage Entertainment.
Alright, so let's get into some of the basics. This is Machine Building 101, the things they don't want you to know. This isn't part of the Illuminated series. I'm going to be having a series of videos called the Illuminated series, the things they don't want you to know. Alright, basically, machine. This particular machine is a cheap frame, about 30 bucks. I gutted everything out. I like the frame, so I used it, wrapped it. Okay, take a look at the coils, nicely wrapped. You have to have plastic or cork up here. This machine does have a yoke because this material here is not very magnetic. The purpose of a yoke is if the frame itself is not that magnetic, you need to create a circuit between both of your coils. If you don't have that yoke, your armature bar will just hold down like this and not do nothing. Okay? Or you'll start it and it'll go it won't do nothing. There's a couple of reasons for that too. So basically, I know one of you guys, I think it was Montana, somebody had said, hey, you know, my voltage is up at around like 9 and up, I believe, and it's hanging up in skin. Not good. There's a couple of things that might be wrong. I'm going to go ahead and disassemble this, take it apart, and I'll get back to you. And it's 5 o'clock in the morning, no sleep again, did some computer database shit, more research, more like every night, so bear with me, alright? Stand by. So, go ahead. Before we get started, check it out, since we're on the subject. Tools, okay, you probably have a set of hex keys. You know what, chuck those. You know what I mean? Get rid of those. Go to Walmart and get yourself this little package. It comes in a little box like this with a whole bunch of tips, okay? It's got those. It's got these hex key types. Alright? Basically, $5, man. It's like $5-6. And this thing will do everything. It's got the screwdriver, flathead, Phillips, hex, even like European. So, but you got everything for your machine right there. Go ahead, and first what I want you to do is take your arm bar off. Okay? Take it off. Put it to the side. Second, go ahead and another way to tell a good machine is that all these screws are all the same. These aren't, obviously. This was a cheap machine. I gutted the armature bar contact and front and rear binding post and coils. So it's a totally different machine now. But go ahead and disassemble your machine and go with me. Alright? Try to go slow for you. Rear binding post. Take it out. Make sure that all your washers are in place, and that you don't lose them. Have a little bowl. You know what I'm saying? Take it all the way out. Unless, you know, you don't necessarily need to. I'm going to show you how this works. All the way down from scratch. Shit. If I don't do that. Disassemble it. All the way down from your shoulder washers, everything. Front binding post. Take it off. I think I stripped this one out. That's not gonna, yeah, that's not gonna be cool, dude. Front binding post. Take it out. Set it all to the side. Everything. Shit. Gotta get my workbench, man, and a cameraman. Or a camera set up, you know what I mean? I'm using my MacBook Pro's eyesight. And you know, I've only got a lid on it. So, and I get backwards. Usually I want to go this way, but it's taking me off screen, so you'll see me doing this a lot. Check it out. This is the light that I made. If you guys want a tutorial on that, let me know. That's a Christmas tree light. Okay, now front binding post is off. Armature bar is off. You can leave the screw for your arm bar on the rear deck. And this is your rear deck. Where your rear spring sits is called your rear deck. Sometimes they're flat, sometimes they're ramped. Ramping gives a more versatile approach to the rear spring and puts more tension there. You can leave that screw, take everything else out. Even the plastic shoulder washers. Take them out. If one doesn't want to come out, just leave it in. Just know what it's there for. Okay? Screwdriver. Remove your coils. Keep those screws to the side because they're going to be different. Here's my yoke. There's my yoke. Okay, it goes between. I'll show you as we go. Put it all to the side. And on this particular machine, I had to put washer underneath to elevate one of my coils so that it was a straight vertical approach to that armature bar. You want your armature bar to lay exactly or horizontal with your coils, okay? You want it to be like this, okay? You want them to be like, you want the bar to be horizontal and flush. This one could be raised, you know, usually it's the rear one that you want to raise up a little bit. A lot of times it is the front one though, and the rear one's down because your rear deck doesn't allow for a gap on your rear coil. So you'll have to elevate your front coil up a little bit from a washer so that you can maintain that gap in the back. They don't talk about the gap in the back. That's a secret. Well, it's not a secret, but it's not widely known. The smaller the gap here is in the rear coil, the better your machine's going to run. You cannot have the rear of your bar touching the back of that. You've got to have at least a paper thin gap on the rear coil. Front coil is your throw. Okay, it's your distance, and that's where they say the nickel and dime theory. Also, let me show you a little trick. If you know your machine runs really loud, and that's why there's nothing back here, because the rear coil needs to be open. That's a lot of the magnetic pull right there. This one just slaps. The sound of the tattoo machine is when you have it slapping real fast. So what I've done is I've created a bumper, a muffler so to speak. You see the difference? Check it out. Versus, it also enables your machine to run smoother and prevents wear and tear on that front spring and your armature bar, because your armature bar gets little coil marks on the bottom, And you'll hear guys say, "Oh yeah, that's good. It's memory." No, it's not good. It's probably out of sync anyways. Why would you want to have memory to something that's out of whack? You know what I'm saying? You don't want that. You want to get rid of those. If you start seeing those, get rid of it. You have different opinions on that though, but I don't like them. Common sense will tell you. Okay, so what we have is we have a bare machine. Okay, here's another rule of thumb when you're traveling. Don't clamp these screw vices down. Leave them loose when you're traveling. Loose, okay? Reason being is because your vice is going to lose its tension in there eventually, and you're going to be fucked. Especially ones like this, cheap ones. There's another way to tell a cheap machine. Right there. This screw vice. That piece of metal in there, and this. Come on, man. That's one way to tell. I always can tell a Chinese machine, and I shouldn't be saying it because they're going to change it up, but that's what they do. This is a real vice. You see wing nuts, you see thumb vice, you see frames like this. Look at the difference. $500 machine, $40 machine. Look at the vice difference. Part of the machine, different pieces to the machine. Another way. You want your machine to be consistent. 2 pieces, 1 piece. 1 piece, 2 pieces. That's it. If it goes to 3 pieces and it's all welded here and there and there and there and there, and you got hella pieces on there bolted to get, throw it away, dude. It's garbage. The best machines in the world are 1-piece machines. It's all about oscillation. It's all about vibration. It's all about the consistency of the frame. The coils. Can they push the ink that you're trying to put in? So let's get on to this. First and foremost, take your coils. Move your wires out of the way. Your wires have to be insulated. That's why you see this on there. It's so that it doesn't touch the frame and short your machine out. And Montana, I think it was you, but if it's not, whoever, yeah, I think it was. Listen, about the voltage. I don't know what kind of machine you have. You need to check the capacitor. It sounds to me, if you're running at 9 to 12 volts, you have a shitty capacitor. And possibly coils. I don't know, though. You might have a great machine. But you shouldn't be pushing, 9 to 12. Yeah, the recommended, they say, is for shading, what is it, 8 to 11. And then, 6 to 8 for shading, and 9 to 12 on a liner. That's not true, man. The less voltage, the less trauma to the skin, the quicker it heals, the turnaround time, which produces a better tattoo, more vibrant, without less dropout. So be careful who you listen to. They're in books, they're everywhere. DVD sets that you buy for $250, they're lying to you, man. And it's outright. Artists are just like, ha ha ha, that's fucking bullshit, that's funny. So I have to put a yoke in mine. It looks magnetic, but it's not. So this machine will require a metal yoke. And this is a piece of shit Chinese yoke. You see how thin it is? You want an iron one that's at least, 4 millimeters thick. This is way too thin, but it works. So what I have to do is stand by, because I know you don't want. I have to put 2 washers in there to elevate my coils on this machine, and I'll be back with you. Another thing I wanted to point out is when you're reassembling your coils, make sure that you don't wiggle these back and forth too much. The cheap Chinese ass ones, the metal ones that I've been showing you, they'll snap right off, as indicated in my coil video. Hey, I'm gonna be redoing the coil video too. I can't get the audio, man. They don't have a tool to where I could overdub. Unless you know of one, let me know. I have GarageBand and Pro Tools for my music. I can do it that way, but it's taking too long. I'd rather just do the video over. Make sure that you're spacing on your coils is adequate. You know what I mean? Have them close together, but not too close. The closer the better, because the objective is that the protons and neutrons don't have a lot of time to travel. The shorter the better, you know what I mean? But then again, too short, too fast is too hot. And that's why the capacitor's here. Okay? And fuck. Did I do that? You gotta watch for your wires, okay? Because that'll work. Like I'm wrapping, you know, these wires should have been in the back, but since it's insulated here, and so is the bottom of my coils, I won't have any shorts. You got to make sure that none of that copper, like this on the bottom of my frame, is almost touching. It's almost touching. If it touches this yoke or this frame, it's going to short. It's not going to blow up on you, but what's going to happen is the armature bar is going to be stuck down and it's not going to do anything. It's not going to run. That's one of your problems. 9 times out of 10, it's always a contact somewhere. Okay, so now we have the coils in. Okay, we've got the coil set. If you need to raise it up, you need to raise it up. You'll have to put it together in the armature bar and lock that down to see if you need to raise or, you know, raise one of your coils. And this, you don't have to have a yoke to raise it either. That's one of the other things. Guys are just leaving it there and they don't understand what's going on. Well, you've got to look at the schematic on the top where that contact's going to meet. This is your most important part. This is your heart right here. The soul is right in this right here. It's right in your heart. But the heart of the machine is right here. Okay? The brains is like the needle or whatever, but the soul is your coils. The spirit is the frame, in my mind. Anyways, what I'm running right here is also a, what is this? I think it's a 47. Yeah, it's a 47 farad 25 volt. So, knowing that I see that indication on the capacitor, knowing that I see that in those numbers, I know that this is a shader. Now, you can use a shader for a liner and vice versa. Okay? And technically, though, I've seen it done, but technically, you can use a shader for a liner, but you can't use a liner for a shader. But then again, dude, in prison, single needle, and that's used for a liner, shader, and a butt plug. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, personal preference. Fucking single needles hurt, though. Really bad. This whole thing that I did, check it out. Single needle. Damn, fucking hurt. All that, single needle. Single fucking needle, dude. So anyways, check it out. Or I'm sorry, not single needle, liner needle. The whole thing was lined out. Shaded, packed with color. It was all liner setup. And it hurt like a bitch. The objective on pieces and needle groupings, and we'll get into that when I make the needle video, is you want to cover your space adequately. You don't want to use something too small for the job. On me, I don't care, because I can tolerate the pain. You know what I'm saying? I like the pain. Clients don't like the pain. You've got a 2-hour frame right there at tops with these people. Once they lose their pain tolerance, it's over. They're going to cry. It's going to be done. Not only that, once they lose their pain tolerance, we'll get into that video too. I'm going to write that down, pain tolerance. There's ways to do it. Bastatine, there's a thing called Bastatine out there. You put that on, take a little break, take a smoke, whatever, and it reduces the swelling. It takes the swelling down. Once, let me tell you and listen to what I'm saying. Once the skin starts swelling, it's going to push out the ink. You can no longer tattoo on the client. Remember that. If you continue to push that needle into swollen skin, you're going to scar them up. All your ink's going to fall out, and you just wasted your time. Now you're going to have a bad name. So if it starts swelling, stop. Take a break. Bastatine. Now bastration, Bastatine. I'll look up the exact name. I might be pronouncing it wrong. I call it B. You put that on your client when they swell, and it takes the swelling away. Listen to what I'm saying again. Once a tattoo area starts swelling, you are going to reject ink. Not only that, the pain tolerance in their mind, once they're done, they're done. You've got to call it a day and do another session. You have to. You can't keep pushing someone that's in pain because their body's going to reject the ink. That is the truth. That took me a long time to learn, but I learned that myself. You know, nobody ever told me that, you know, and I don't know how many people know that. I don't know how many people know the human anatomy and how it works. Your brain will shut shit down. If you're addicted to opiates and you stop, your brain's going to tell your body, you're fucking hurting. I'm going to make you hurt all over so you can go get me what I want. Your brain will shut down your body. Anyhow, these little plastic pieces right here, let me get a good angle on that. You see that plastic piece? That's a shoulder washer. And where that goes is in between all your contacts. It splits up the contact from metal to wire so that it goes from DC to AC. Okay? So that converts that. Once it passes through a capacitor, charges up, and the electrons and neutrons, protons, they do their job, and they go up and they wind and they produce that energy. It's so that the electricity doesn't run through the frame, or all it's going to happen is short out. I've been electrocuted by these things. It's, you know, how many volts you have. It's not how many watts you have, it's how many volts, because you're not having direct power, you're having transfer power. You're having power that's been chopped up and spit out, and then it's being reduced. So it's basically like getting shocked by a 12 volt battery. You know what I'm saying? Highest on these, what is it, 18, 17 volts? It's not that bad. It's not like sticking your finger in a light socket, you know. A lot of people are scared to touch these things while it's running and all that because they think they're going to get electrocuted. Nope. I did it. I said, okay, if I'm going to get electrocuted, I'm going to. I got to learn. And I didn't. But one time, everything was all loose. Like I had everything loose, and I clipped the clip cord, and I fucking dropped it. It scared me more than anything because I thought I was going to get electrocuted, and I thought I was being electrocuted, but it was just a little zap of like 6 volts. So shoulder washers, they go in these spots, okay? Every spot that you're going to connect a metal or a wire is going to have a shoulder washer. There's only 2 spots on the machine, unless you have a light. Okay, it's this front binding post and it's the rear binding post. So you're going to go ahead and insert your shoulder washers on each side, okay? Because the screw has to have one, and then the post has to have one. This, okay? Those have to have a shoulder washer on each side of them. So set up your screws like that. Put the shoulder washer in. I'm sorry, stand by. Put a metal now washer. Let's say, how do I explain this? You got your screw. It's going to go on the rear binding post to secure your post. Okay, so what you want to do is this. Shoulder washer in. Fucking hate this camera, sorry dude. Shoulder washer in. Shoulder washer on the screw that's going in. Before you do that though, put a regular washer, metal, over it. So what it's going to look like is you're going to have, basically what you're going to do is this. Okay? You're going to have screw, metal washer, shoulder washer. Shoulder washer, metal washer, screw. And it's going to look like this. Screw, metal washer, shoulder washer, plastic. So basically remember this for each of these posts. Plastic, metal, metal. Plastic, metal, metal. Plastic, metal, metal. Okay? Same rule applies on the other side. Attach your, let me try to get this straight, man. What the... Shoulder washer into the machine. Plastic, metal, metal, right? I coined that. So if you start using it, Kage came up with it. Plastic, metal, metal, plastic, metal, metal. What's it up, dog? Plastic, metal, metal, biatches. Plastic, metal. Anyway. Plastic, metal, metal. It's going to look like this. Okay? It's going to look like that. Plastic, metal, metal. Metal to metal. Now you're going to attach your you're grounding out. What you're doing is you're grounding the one of these is ground and one of these is power. Okay, just remember that one's negative and one's positive. Negative, positive, negative, positive. And now, once you have the cord that goes, you know, one of the clips that goes from your coil on your rear binding post, go ahead and now fasten it. Okay? Binding post. Rear binding post. Screw it down. Doesn't have to be tight right now. Make those adjustments later. It's going to be a long video. Okay? Do the same thing with your front binding post, and I'll see you in a minute. Now that you have that secure, make sure that you have some play. That it's not tacked down totally tight. That's at the very end when everything's perfect. It's got to be perfect and it's got to be tight. Tight as that damn 19-year-old pussy. Yeah, some 19-year-old pussy ain't tight though. Anyway, make sure that it's got some play, alright? Because we're going to be fucking with it. Don't worry about the angles right now. You don't got to be precise until we start running this. Okay? Now, since all that's set, go ahead and attach your armature back. Oh, and for armature bar, let's do that. While we're here, might as well cover it. Whole nother video. Armature bar. Okay? Take it apart. Okay, you have an armature bar. Typically and scientifically, you want your armature bar to match your coils. So basically what I'm saying is, and mine doesn't on this, this is a very fat, very heavy armature bar. And that's for color packing and shading. The top of my coils. So it's the coil material, 1018, 1019, 1017, whatever. 1018, that's what these look like. And that's the type of metal that you're using, steel. So basically, the best that would run with this would be the chrome looking ones, okay, on this one. Because if you look at the tops of these coils, you want your armature bar to match that. It's the magnetic frequency response. Two of the same metals are going to be more magnetic than not the same metals. In this case, it's not, but you know. Put your little bumper on there. Make sure if you do use the bumper that the rear coil part is exposed. You want that to be exposed and not covered. Just do the tip. You've got a silencer. So, with the arm bar, take your springs, set it up. A rule of thumb with anything, 18 and 18 gauge. You can start with 18-18. 18 and 18 will get you everything done. Lining, color, and shading. Once you get technical, and we will, then we'll go into spring sizes and gaps and things like that. You see how red my eyes are? I'm exhausted. I'm doing this for you guys. 2 springs. You're going to have different type springs. Okay? Usually it's flat at the end, and it's cut at 45s, 42s. It's going to extend just a little bit. There's actual dimensions to these, and I'll get you those dimensions. Okay? Most springs come with no crease in them. That's called your deflection. You want that at about a 36-degree angle, 32 to 36. We'll get into that, but not right now. Some springs, rear springs come like this, or front, and they will also have a slight bend in them. They'll be flat from the gate though. You can put a bend in the rear or not, depending on your rear deck. If your rear deck is ramped means that it's not straight across, it's actually up. It puts that tension down on, think about it. The fulcrum point is back here, it ramps up. And if I was laying the diving board upwards, I'd have more tension, right? Right. Go ahead and put your together. Let me stop it so I can edit. Now, when you're putting together your arm bar and your front and back spring, alright? If you do have a crease, and you should have a crease, even if you crease it, you know what I'm saying? When you're creasing your own, take a pair of pliers. Grip it back just a little bit above the notch in the back. Unless you're cutting your own springs, then you already know what I'm talking about. You're already advanced. But if not, right above that little crease, that's where it's stiff. You don't want to take the velocity out of it. You know what I mean? You don't want to snap these. The more that you bend these, the more that you're dumbing them down, and you're gonna snap it, maybe even during a tattoo. No bueno. Go ahead and grab it like that, where you want your crease. There's actual measurements to this, and I'll get you those. But you take it and you just give it some pressure and bend it, and have a deflection of about 32 to 36 degrees. Yeah, it gets that technical, and it even gets more technical than that. This is what they don't want to teach you, man. Trust me. There's some secrets to this shit right here. Some major secrets to the industry right here. This right here will make or break your tattoo. Just this alone. Always put your front spring over the rear spring. Never let that washer go above the crease. Always be behind the crease a little bit. Always. You will also adjust these. That's why there's such a long gap in this. That is for you to adjust back and forth your throw, your tension, all of that. It's very scientific. Okay, so basically have it snug. And when you're lining up, they make a tool that you can line this up and set it in there. It's real easy. I need to get one or make one. But you want this lined up with your front nipple, okay? The Armature Bar nipple. You want that lined up as best as possible. Line up the rear as well. And if there's excess on each side, make sure that there's equal amount of space on each side. Just like when you're aiming a rifle or a handgun. You want equal amount of space on each side. Okay? Straighten that up. Very important that all this is straight, my friends. Extremely important, actually. Tighten it up first with your fingers so you can make adjustments, because you're going to have to a billion times before it goes onto the machine and after. Okay? Eyeball it. You'll get better and better. It's detrimental that this all is tight and all is straight. It's detrimental. The more straight that you get this down to peep sight and you're aiming, the more you got a cleaner shot. And I'm going to show you some sniper shit too. I was a sniper in the military. I'll teach you how to shoot. Tighten that down. Once you get it, tighten it down real good. If it's straight, lock that bitch down as hard as you can. Go ahead and apply it to your machine. Okay? Go under. I have a washer. I elevated this machine. I had to tweak this machine a lot. I put a washer underneath and on top. Okay? That's because I have to elevate the rear deck. I need that gap, so I had to accommodate with that washer and those coils to make a perfect gap on the rear coil. You will have to do that, adjust. Now, the length of your machine is the length of your armature bar, the length from your armature bar and your rear deck is extremely important. On this, I don't have much give, okay? But lining, you want to be further back because it's got to close that gap quicker, make a faster, more consistent line. It's very important, this right here. This is an extremely important feature on these machines. That's why they're there. They're meant to be adjusted, and they have to be adjusted. How much space between this front and back and the front as well, it's going to have a huge impact. Typically though, you want to line it up down the barrel. You want to have it looking like that, straight. Also, a good way to tell is the coils right there. You want to have equal amount of space there, and the more you are centered up with all of this, the better your machine's going to be, the better your tattoo is going to be. Anything's crooked to the slightest. Armature bar is off a little bit to the left or right, or the spring's off from the armature bar, or the machine. You're not going to have a smooth running machine. Trust me. Micromillimeters of adjustments. So, in the video right now, for a shader, we're doing a shader video, okay? For a shader, the longer that you have it out here, the stiffer the rear spring has to be. If you have it way back here, you'll be okay with a lighter spring. But the farther you go out on that diving board, the more flexibility it has, the more stiff that this rear spring needs to be, because it's carrying all this weight. The rear spring's carrying all that weight, including the needle bar. So imagine how much pressure is on that rear spring. Okay? So go ahead and tighten it up. I'll be right back. This step, you've now attached your front binding post screw, metal, plastic, metal, plastic, metal. You've got it looking like that. Okay? Plastic to the frame, metal, screw, and contact. Alright? Now, depending on what machine you have, let's say this is a shader. I'm going to set it up as a shader right now. Okay? I could set it up as a liner. This right here is your angle. Extremely important. A lot of people don't know that coming out the gate. Very important. 1 micromillimeter of an adjustment has a huge impact on the skin. Okay? Huge. If I had a cut back liner, it would be here. Universal is about right there. Yeah, about right there. Shading's going to be way out here. Coloring and shading. Not quite that far. We'll get it down. Right now, for the purpose of this video, don't worry about this until we start tuning. Okay? And this is all part of tuning. Go ahead and secure that. Let me save some video on this and I'll be back. Now, with it all tightened up, okay, make sure that the front spring's barely touching this, because we haven't adjusted this yet. We haven't adjusted your front contact post at all. Okay, it's just still hanging, right? What we want to do right now is focus on gaps. When you hold down the armature bar, you want that gap in the back. Do you see my rear coil? You see that gap? The closer that gap is, the smaller, the better. Okay? Front coil's got to be touching with a gap in the back. You see what I'm saying? It's touching in the front, and there's a gap in the back. That is not the nickel and dime theory. That has nothing to do with it. but everything to do with your tattoo. That's what they don't teach you. Now, if I release this without the front contact points touching, this is what they're talking about. Nickel and dime, right there. Shader, I'm going to have a nickel. A little bit more. I like a little bit more. Throw, not too much. It all depends on your setup, okay? For right now, I've got a little bit more than a nickel. Now I'm going to adjust this at my angle. I want my angle of front contact post to be as far up on the tip as possible with a full contact. So, in this case, on this machine, I'll be right about there. The better the contact is here, the better your machine's going to run. It's called fine tuning. So what I've done in this case is, this came stock, the screw, screwed, basically like a point. So I filed it down to accommodate that front spring in the angle. You can see it, and I got to adjust it. So the closer that you could get this angle on this to match and accommodate for the front spring, the better it's going to be. Less spark, less trauma, less friction, so on and so forth. I've got it to where I want it to be. Lock it down just a little bit, not too tight, because we still have to adjust. The only way you're going to tell is when we're running power to it. Alright, so lock that down. Get the angle as much as you can to the tip of that spring. For shading, go to the very tip. Go to the very tip of that machine. Now I've got it to the tip of the machine, I want to check my gaps. I've got a nickel on the bottom. I've got a nickel on the front coil. Okay? And paper thin in the back. Paper thin in the back. Nickel in the front. They will not teach you this part. Now, well, maybe they will. I don't know. I haven't seen it. I had to fucking learn that myself. Because what happens is, if this is touching in the back, it's going to hold down and glue like that. It's not going to move nowhere. It's going to, like it's fucking taking a shit. So, now, look at my front contact. Shading, coloring nickel. A little bit more than a nickel. And, same thing there. Equal points. Alright? Equal. When you make it equal, here and here. Fuck, I'm backwards on this camera. I don't know why these eyesights are backwards. Equal points there and there. You're going to have a consistent up and down motion. Alright? Rear deck. Distance between your rear deck and your armature bar. Extremely important. When you've got it like this, don't clamp that down yet. Universal is about the middle of that. You can go lining, you can go shading, if it's in the middle. Cutback liner is way back here. Cutback shader is way back here. Get into that later. It's a whole different nomenclature. That's this nomenclature. This is a cutback liner. Badass one. Just let me know. Keith Underwood. Roll-O-Matic. There's only 10 machines made. I've got machine number 1. It's pretty sick. Can you see that? Machine number 1. I can't freaking see it. I'm going to get a better camera and pod. But anyways, look how tight those coils are. Beautiful. Some cork up here. Some flat right here. But anyways, on this liner, the armature bar is hollowed out in the middle. You can't see it, but in there it is absolutely hollowed out. It's hollowed out in the inside. And that makes the armature bar lighter. A shader, you're going to have a heavier armature bar. Same with color, even heavier. A liner, the lighter the bar, the better. Faster movement, right? More consistent lines. More, consistent, looking like a pen when it's into your skin. Cut back, and what I mean by that is, look at the angle. The angle of my contact screw is backwards, opposed to frontwards. You know what I'm saying? Way out, way back. Cut back. And this thing runs super fast for super fast lines. I'm not even fast enough to do it right now with my hands. Not even confident enough to. This is for like dudes that have 20 years in and close their eyes and just freehand a fucking masterpiece on someone's back. So now that we have that, let's go ahead and set up your power supply.
You are now listening to Kage Entertainment.